5 weeks into the season, and your Slumberhemians are sitting pretty. Top of the standings, playoff spot in the bag, but this is not the time to be resting on our laurels. We've still got an important game ahead of us, and here we go breaking down the team of how we try and beat A12. How's it going, guys? And welcome back to the channel. Today is my SPL D-League Week 6 team builder, where your Slumberhemians are taking on A12, the coach of the Arkham City Delibirds. A12 is a long-time player, both in the Showdown and Wi-Fi side of things. I know him a hell of a long time, but it's not a matchup we've gotten to play super often. Maybe once back in the day in good old EMBA, and then one last year, which the less said about the better, even though I got the win on a technicality. So, this is a win that I want quite badly, and there's a few reasons as to why. The main one being in terms of the Head Honcho standings, as my team, the Take Heart Foundation, is currently top of the standings, and second in the standings is A12's team, the New World Order. So there is currently a gap of, I believe it is 2 games. So, if everyone wins on our end, then it's easy. We get top seed, and it's great. So, you know, it's definitely an important game to get right, even if there is playoff stakes on the line. A12's team, though, is incredibly annoying, and without further ado, let's break it down. A12's team consists of Palafin, Goldengo, Okidogi with access to Terra, because of course he has Loyal 3, Weavile, Latios, Corviknight, a Toxapex, Grimmsnarl, Chansey, Palisand, and lastly a Terra Jolteon. And it's safe to say that A12 has a lot of options here. The 2 Terramons are scary in their own rights. Jolteon probably the bigger threat compared to Okidogi just because of its speed matchup, as well as Terra Ice and Fairy both being scary in their own regards. You combine that with his Fat, because Corviknight plus Toxapex is quite annoying for me to break, and you know, you can chuck in something like a Grimmsnarl to be able to trick Lagging Tail down my Espathra, which might be one of my best ways of dealing with it, and then you also chuck in Latios and Weavile for offense. Palafin exists too, but I think if it comes, which isn't a guarantee, it kinda has to be special here, because otherwise, how does it get through Alomomola, how does it get through Meowscarada, and even how does it get through Charles? So I'm kind of thinking if it comes it'll be like an Agility Throat Spray set. Also, I should probably say this is only the second time in 6 weeks where I'm actually recording the team builder before the battle. It's one of the few weeks where I'm actually in the opportunity to do so, and it's safe to say there's a bit of a different vibe to them if that's the case. So, I'm not 100% sure what way A12 is going to approach it, but it does have a variety of different approaches that I need to be careful about. If you guys are still enjoying these team builders, don't be afraid to let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and letting me know down below what you've been thinking of this, what you think of the team that I put together this week. That was really bad English, but whatever. Anyways, let's hop into what I brought. We kick things off here with my Emu this week. And we're rocking heavy duty boots, which probably looks a bit weird on paper, seeing as his rockers are a Chansey and a Palisand, but it's specifically there for Toxapex. Because of how bad a Sui and Quillfish is in the matchup, I do think A12 is going to bring that Toxapex, and also bring T-Spikes on it, just to be able to wear down my threats, similar to what happened in my game against Steve. And so, I have a few methods of preparation around that, and it starts out with heavy duty boots on this Emu. We have a set of Calm Mind, Psyshock to be able to get through the Chansey, Dazzling Gleam for Weavile and the Latios, and Terra Blast Electric to deal with Corv, as well as being my strongest move for Goldengo. I decided that I didn't need to necessarily have a super effective move for Goldengo, because Goldengo can't actually touch me, and outside of Trick Lagging Tail, there's nothing it can do that's actually scary. We have enough bulk here to be able to take a banded Palafin Jet Punch if we have to, but it also means we can take Ice Shard into non-banded Jet Punch. So that's really good. 192 speed with a modest nature ensures that we outspeed his most likely Scarf around that speed tier, which is the Goldengo, and then we have modest with as much investment as possible into special attack. I do think this Emu should put him on the back burner, especially if that Grimmsnarl does not show up, and I hope it's able to finally put in the work. We then get to Meowscarada, who has now officially made it all the way back to the beginning. We're going with Assault Vest this week. Despite the nickname of Puss in Boots, I've still not brought boots on it once, although this was probably the closest week so far. We are rocking a set of Knockoff, Flower Trick, Sucker Punch, and Thunder Punch. Now, the reason for this is Assault Vest Meowscarada is unironically my best check to a Jolteon, especially if I'm an electric type. which is probably a move I'm going to be clicking a bunch because of the existence of both Corviknight and Toxapex. The dual Dark Stab makes a ton of sense, knockoff to get rid of the items, predominantly on the Okie Dokie or either of the other two fat things that I mentioned. Flower Trick there, obviously for a Palafin, as well as just good damage across the board, and Sucker Punch to help me deal with something like a Scarf on the Gholdengo or the Latios, to be able to pick them off. Also applies for Agility Latios. Now, the Assault Vest is there because of, like I said, the Jolteon is absolutely terrifying here, because I do not have a lot of good ways around it. So having that extra Spadef on a mon like Masquerada, which should be able to catch him off guard, I think is going to be really important here. It also means if he tries to pull anything fancy with something like a Scarf Gholdengo or Scarf Latios, I live those hits anyways and can just kill them, which is safe to say is a bit of a win. Masquerada is going to need to stay alive as long as possible, hopefully stay away from T-Spikes if that is the option that A12 decides to bring. I have a few ways around that on this build, and just keep clicking buttons because that's what it needs to do in this game. We then get to Jirachi, and Jirachi for once is finally getting to show some of its offensive capabilities. We're rocking the weakness policy, which I'm stunned it's taken me 6 weeks to bring weakness policy on him on, but here we are. We have a set of Calm Mind, Stored Power, Shadow Ball, and Flash Cannon. Yes, this thing gets walled by Chansey, but hear me out. Calm Mind is because I can set that up freely on stuff like Toxapex and Corviknight. Stored Power is there because once I have those extra boosts, I'm able to murder my way through absolutely everything. Flash Cannon for the secondary stab, deal with Terra Fairies as well as the Grimmsnarl, and Shadow Ball is there for Gholdengo as well as for the Latios. We have a spread here that, 1, I have to beat Gholdengo, 2, I have enough bulk to where I can take 2 hits from Okie Dokie, as well as take hits from quite well from Gholdengo after I get the Calm Mind off. I don't get 2-shot by Shadow Ball, unless it's literally, I think it needs to be boosting item, so anything spell tag and above from a modest Gholdengo is able to 2-shot me, nothing else will. So this thing's job is pretty simple. It's just to kind of click Calm Mind and break, and once the weakness policy is gone, obviously it's going to have reduced knockoff damage from both Okie Dokie and Weavile, and that should come in clutch quite well. Unfortunately, I'm not able to pick up the kill on a Terra Dark Okie Dokie with +3 Flash Cannon. I'm just shy of it, but overall I think getting that damage off anyways is going to be great, especially when we get into later members. Speaking of, we have a Landorus here, which is rocking the Rocky Helmet this week and is more of a support based build. We have a set of Stealth Rock, Taunt, Gravity, and Earth Power. So this is my Corviknight switch in, which I know sounds a little bit ridiculous, but hear me out. Rocks are also super important here, especially if he does try to get greedy and not go Boots Weavile. But even if he does go Boots Weavile, having that Rocks pressure to be able to whittle down both Pex and Corv, as well as even stuff like Chansey, is really important. We've Taunt to be able to shut down said Corv, whether that's trying to Roost or trying to defog. Gravity, because all of his ground immunities are Levitate mons, so it just means that everything gets hit by Earth Power. I went Earth Power over EQ here, because EQ I only would have brought in the event where I think the Chansey will show up, which it might. I'm not ruling it out here either way, but I think Earth Power is just better coverage across the board. Having that extra hit, especially for the Okie Dokie, which I'm likely going to have to switch this thing in on. Yes, Landorus would probably like to be a little bit more offensive, but I think Gravity, even with this special attack investment and Modest, should be able to put in the finest of work. We have max HP to help us live any stab boosted terrors from an Okie Dokie, so something like a Scarf Close Combat doesn't 2-shot me, and then I also have the speed to be able to outspeed a Gholdengo. This isn't the last time you'll see the speed creep be for a Gholdengo. It's quite a common one in this matchup. We then get to Alomomola, who has had a nice couple weeks off after its great performance against Dashing. We are rocking a Rocky Helmet set this week, with a set of Wish, Flip Turn, Misty Terrain, and Play Rough. Now, Wish and Flip Turn is pretty self-explanatory. If I can get Wish passes around this team to mons like Jirachi and Lando, even Masquerada to an extent because of how scary Jolteon is, I'm doing really well. And it is quite easy to Wish pass around his team because he doesn't have any mons that can immediately come in and pressure me. His only thing is going hard Jolteon all the time, which I don't think he wants that thing to be taking flip turns if it doesn't have to. Misty Terrain is one of my techs to get around T-Spikes. Having that Misty Terrain up, meaning that nothing is getting hit by said T-Spikes, means I can go Masquerada relatively freely. And Misty Terrain is slightly better than Safeguard this game because it also neuters the power of Latios Draco Meteor, which should be quite handy here. especially because the Draco button is a scary button, especially if he does go the Scarf or the Life Orb route on Laddie. And then lastly you have Play Rough, which if only that was boosted by Misty Terrain. But yeah, that's just to help with any sorts of Latios that are trying to get tricky on me, or if there is a Weavile trying to set SDs in my face, which, you know, it shouldn't really be able to make any sort of progress there, but I wanted the extra damage rather than needing to flip turn out and go into something else, because I'm not the best equipped for SD Weavile. The bulk means that I live 2 bandit close combats from a Palafin, but I also, like 99.4% of the time, I'm able to take a max special attack mod as Boom Burst as long as Throat Spray is not activated. I do think the set will be Throat Spray here, but there is a chance that he goes something like Splash Blade or Expert Belt to be able to boost his damage on a mod like Masquerada. So I think having that mixed coverage was going to be quite helpful, and that Spadef also means that it can technically live a hit from Jolteon, which will probably scare him in terms of Miracle possibilities, which should really affect what way he wants to approach this thing. Alomomola is super important here, and I think getting it off the bench after its couple weeks off, it's the perfectly right time. We round things out with Rotom here, and we end it with a Choice Scarf Rotom. A Choice Scarf Terra Water Scarf Rotom. What am I saying? But we have a set here of Volt Switch, Shadow Ball, Discharge, and Trick. I think it's pretty self-explanatory when his electric communities are a Palossand and a Jolteon, that electric moves are quite free into his team. And when his Ghost Resists are a Weavile and a Chansey, I think Shadow Ball is quite good across the board too. We have Terra Water because that is my best type to be able to deal with his priority, predominantly Ice Shard from Weavile and Jet Punch from Palafin. Although I do live a banded Jet Punch from full with this HP investment. We have the rest in special attack, and like I said, say it with me now, the speed tier is for Goldango. I hope you joined in. Did you join in? Let me know if you joined in. But yeah, Scarf Rotom, really important. Could be a late game cleaner, depending on what way the game kind of transitions. Or it's just a mon that clicks Volt Switch a bunch if he decides not to bring the Jolteon. Which would be amazing, but I don't think that's going to happen. We'll end things here with what I actually expect to show up, because, like I said, this is actually before the battle. The battle's in about an hour, so I do need to be kind of quick, because I still need to gen this team. Sorry, breed this team. Sorry for this if I... So, what I'm expecting A12 to rock up with here. I think the locks are Weavile, Corviknight, and Latios. I think those 3 are definites. Latios is just super strong across the board versus me, because of Draco Meteor plus Shadow Ball. So I think he will kind of lean into that. I think Boots Weavile, having that speed tier advantage versus my team, is really good, as well as just being able to click knockoff constantly. And because my best defensive checks are my water types, I think he's going to try and bring other mons to exploit that. The Toxapex I do think is coming, just because it is a fat boy that can click T-Spike, because of how bad Quillfish is here, like I said. I then think he is going to bring the Jolteon. I think Jolteon's coverage plus its speed tier is too nice in this game to pass up. I'm not sure, is he going to go Terra Fairy or if he's going to go Terra Ice? I kind of lean Fairy unless he does want to go Heavy Duty Boots. I think Terra Fairy with Sub is probably the one that I expect the most. And then, in terms of what I think is going to round out the team, I think it's going to be the Goldango. I would be quite surprised if he does bench the Goldango, because his dual stab is still quite nice, especially because Quillfish is awful. The reason I say Quillfish is awful is because of the potential threat of Okidogi, as well as it just not really being able to deal with anything, despite having an Eviolite. So yeah, I do think he's going to bench the Palafin. If it shows up, it shows up. It's kind of a good thing for me, because it means that the other stuff hasn't shown. Chansey is also a possibility, and I did actually see the Sandcastle in Mox, and it crit through like everything, so I have to somewhat respect it. And you know, it's A12. Dogi's always a possibility. But I do have some hunches over others, and that will change what my lead is accordingly. And that is it. That is my Week 6 team builder, guys. A little bit on the longer side compared to usual, because of the fact that A, I don't actually know what his team is, and B, just, you know, I kind of wanted to go over a few bits, because there was a couple weird intricacies, and, you know, I had the intro ramble at the beginning. If you guys have enjoyed this team builder, let me know by leaving your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hype, because that's a thing, I guess. And I shall catch you tomorrow for the Week 6 game, which intro might have a little bit of a special surprise. Stay tuned, guys. Peace.